And what a last few days it's been, gentlemen, for Canada soccer. We were all covering it. Thursday night, the Canadians taking the Mexicans to the brink in CONCACAF Gold Cup. The Mexicans needed a goal in the 99th minute to defeat the Canadian men. What a performance by them. And then, is it safe to say the next day or just a few hours later, the Canadian women looking good in their quarterfinal match, set up a date with the Americans for the semifinal. Dun, dun, dun. Rematch from 2012, 9 years ago at those London Olympics, and this time the Canadians reign victorious. In fact, Gareth, it was the first time the Canadians beat the Americans in 20 years. Yeah. Did you feel a little joy inside? Just a little?
Just a little bit, Andy. Honestly, if I wasn't so tired from the lack of sleep over previous days, I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about here. I think it would have been even more excited running around the block with my Canadian flag. This is what it's all about, right? Like, beating the Americans is sweet. There's an arrogance about them. They are Canada's biggest rival. They're kind of the team, just like on the men's side, where you just couldn't get over that hump, right? In order for you to get to the top, they're directly in your way. But it was also just the fact, and you said it, 2012. Like, 2012 still stings to this day what happened in London. Because I actually think that the Canadian team in 2012 is better than the team that we're seeing this time around. And they were robbed of a legitimate trip to the gold medal game back then. So there's a lot of factors that make it that much more enjoyable. But the fact that it's the Americans and the recent history, Andy, it takes it to another level, just in terms of Canadian soccer fandom.
Yeah, this is about Canada, but the fact that it was the Americans definitely plays a part, and it plays a part, I think, for the players as well. They simply wanted it more than the US in that game. They weren't a dominant team by any means, but they defended brilliantly. They showed so much grit. And then Deanne Rose just makes a run for a lost cause and ends up winning a penalty, right? So I think you can definitely trace that kind of thread from 2012 where you have, young players like Jessie Fleming, a teenager at the time, watching that game, being inspired by that team, seeing the injustice that was felt in 2012, and then wanting to now, as senior professionals, be the players and be the team that gives Christine Sinclair, Desiree Scott, players like that, one last bite of the apple and one chance to beat this American team on a stage like the Olympics, right? So I think that thread undoubtedly runs through it and was a big factor in the game.
What a special moment for Jessie Fleming, getting that penalty kick, letting it go in. And Christine Sinclair said, I missed my penalty kick in the previous game. She was on fire. She was dialed in. So she gave it to her. And there you go. It paid off. But Ollie, what would a gold medal mean? We know the motto going into these Olympics for the Canadian women, of course, was change the color. They've already accomplished that. But what would that gold medal mean?
Well, it would be the greatest achievement in Canadian soccer history, right? It might already be just to win gold or silver, but I think it's indisputable if they win gold. So those are the stakes on the line, and I just think, I don't know how many of us thought this was possible, right? Possible in the kind of bigger picture context of can Canada ever get the better of the United States and ever get over that hump that we saw in 2012, but also in these specific circumstances, is it possible this year? It certainly didn't feel like it late last year when Bev Priestman took charge. I've said all along, they've been talking about changing the color of the medal. I've said all along that just getting a bronze, I thought, would be a great result at this tournament, given where the program has been over the past couple of years. They've proven themselves right and proved me wrong and done an unbelievable job to get to this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Ollie. Like, this might sound crazy, but I actually don't think Canada's played that well. But do you know what's got them through? Teamwork, that hunger, that commitment. It's been on another level. It's been better than every team that they played against. And their defensive work has got that much better over the course of the tournament as well. Like, they've almost gone 3 straight games without conceding. Like, that goal against Great Britain was such a fluke the way that it went in. But what would it mean, Andy? I think it means everything. I know changing the color was the goal. There was some real concern if Canada didn't make the podium, what that would mean to the funding of the program when it comes to own the podium. It was vital that they reached this stage. But once you're there, all the background noise is done. I would hate to make it to the final of a tournament like this and not go on to win gold. Wouldn't that bother you? Like, you forget about World Cup finalists or you forget about silver medal winners. Like, this is a time to really leave a legacy. Like, beating the US, yeah, that's great. We celebrated the men doing the exact same thing. But unless you go on and Canada goes on to qualify for the World Cup, or you go on to win a gold medal, I think that kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit, don't you think?
No one's going to beat being called an Olympic champion. Of course, that will always stand the test of time. But, it's funny what you bring up, because when you're in a gold medal game, and if you lose and you take silver, there's a loss there, right? But when you're in a bronze medal game, you won. So you're so excited to take bronze, but you're like, wait, you're still below silver, and they're really upset. That's how that works in sport.
It feels like it. Yeah, it feels like a win. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so there is one more game to go here, but so far for you, Gareth, who's been the player of the tournament for Canada?
Ashley Lawrence, she's definitely a top 3 player at this Olympic tournament. It's funny, she's played at right back, she's played at left back. There is no doubt in my mind that if she played in the midfield or if she played on the wing, that she would still be Canada's best player. She's that good. And Canada's done a great job defensively, but they turn to Lawrence just to take the sting out from time to time. Just get her foot on the ball, take on a player, proper distribution. I don't think there's been any question that she's been the best Canadian player at this Olympic tournament.
Yeah,
I love her demeanor too.
No disagreements from me. It's been Ashley Lawrence, one of the best players at the tournament, full stop. But I'll throw Kadisha Buchanan in there as well. Because I think Canada's 2 best players have been their best players, and that's been the backbone of their success at this tournament. It's unbelievable that these 2 are 26 and 25 years old, over 200 caps between them already, and you feel like they're just getting started, and the best is still to come in their careers.
Yes.
They're 2 world-class defenders. They're going to be the foundation for Canada for the next at least 5, probably 10 years. And they've, as I said, they've played like Canada's 2 best players, as we needed them to at this tournament.
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out to Stephanie Labbé, 3 penalty kick saves, game 1, and then of course in that crucial quarterfinal game, she's beaten up, she's bruised, onslaught by the Americans as well in the semis, having to tip a few over the bar. And let me tell you something, when you're watching those games with a former goalkeeper, as I have been with Karina LeBlanc, it's incredible to see it also through that perspective as well. By the way, shout out to Karina. She called every PK save, that's for sure. And honorable mention to Vanessa Gilles. Yeah, it's incredible.
Gilles Power. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
She has looked fantastic. Let's go to the coach, though, because how much credit, Ollie, are you giving to Bev Priestman in turning this team around? Kenneth Heiner-Muller, as we know, the team did not have success under him. So was it really a Bev Priestman thing?
Yeah, I give her an enormous amount of credit. I think she's improved the team in pretty much every area. I think she's reinstilled the spirit and the grit and the kind of belief and the mental aspect that was there under John Herdman and seemed to be lost a little bit over the past couple of years. But I would also add that even though the team has improved under Bev Priestman, the calculation here is pretty much the same as it was at the 2019 World Cup, which is that Canada has to be very, very good defensively. They have to keep clean sheets because they're not going to score 2 or 3 goals a game. The attack hasn't improved that much under Bev Priestman that they can bank on that. So when you look at establishing that defense, you look at all the decisions that Bev Priestman has made, bringing in Vanessa Gilles for the knockout stage, going with Steph Labbé over Kaylin Sheridan in goal, playing Ashley Lawrence in the defense when, there was a lot of people, ourselves included, at times arguing for her to play in the midfield. I think she has got every single big decision right in terms of establishing that foundation and that strong defense, and that's carried Canada to the gold medal game.
Right, and the confidence, it shows in the confidence that the players have. And look, she's made me my words. I always thought that she was a top coach. I've been impressed every conversation that we've had with her, but it was the decision to rest some key players, even during the game against Great Britain. I thought they were destined to be knocked out, either by Brazil or the United States or the Netherlands. I thought that they took the most difficult path here to the finals, and I thought that was a mistake. Well, I look at like a fool for suggesting that, because the players are fresh, they're motivated, every player feels involved and empowered, so good on her. She absolutely got it right.
Let's ask a question here about the opponents, just a wee bit on them. And I wonder, Gareth, so the Americans, when you look at the last 3 major competitions, right? So the 2019 World Cup, they end up being victorious in that one. But in 2016 Rio, first time they didn't medal at the Olympics. And now here in Tokyo, they're not going to be going for gold again. Are they on the decline? Is their world dominance over?
I have a hard time saying that, because they were undefeated in 44 straight games coming in, and they were thoroughly dominant just 2 years ago at the Summer World Cup, right? I think there's some players out of form. I think that some players have got old quick. I think there's some other players, their focus is elsewhere other than the game on the U.S. women's national team. I think you miss Jill Ellis as a head coach. Like, there's been some significant changes, and I think that further changes will be required, Andy, but there's just so much talent. The player pool is deeper than anyone else in world football, so I think this is just a blip, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think the dominance is over, and I certainly didn't predict a performance at the Olympics as poor as this one for the US, but I think you have to be a little bit naive not to think that basically several key players opting out of playing last year, which they did for, legitimate reasons, obviously during the pandemic. To think that wasn't going to have some effect on a team that's comprised of quite a few players who are already in their 30s and in the latter stages of their career now, I think was a bit naive. It was always going to have an impact. It was always going to set the team back a little bit. And we know that there are teams, particularly in Europe right now and now Canada, that are ready to jump on them and catch up if they're given the chance. And I think that's what's happened.